What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video today. I'm doing my way too early 2023 NASCAR Cup Series driver lineup predictions. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start off with the 0-2 car for Our Motorsports. That's right. I believe that Our Motorsports is going to jump up to the Cup Series in 2023. Since Our Motorsports has a major commitment in spinning, where they're expanding to a 3-car operation this year, I believe that they will have a 1-car operation in 2023 that will be a part-time operation. And I think they'll have 2 drivers that drive for this organization. I think it'll be Brett Moffitt and Anthony Alfredo, who both currently drive for the organization in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Both drivers are really, really strong, and I think that there'll be 2 drivers that really can set the foundation and the ground running for this organization. And I look at them as being a team that's very similar to Kaulig. So I think that they will jump up to the Cup Series in 2023 in the 0-2 car. Up next, we're going to talk about the 1-car for Trackhouse Racing. This should not surprise anybody. Ross Chastain, I believe, will be back in the 1-car in 2023. Ross Chastain, of course, is joining Trackhouse Racing in 2022, but Ross Chastain is a very, very talented driver who can get the best out of his equipment. And I think that Ross Chastain in 2022 is going to have a pretty big year. And, of course, Justin Marks is a massive, massive fan of Ross Chastain. So it should not surprise anybody. I believe that Ross Chastain will be back in the 1-car in 2023. Up next, we're going to talk about the 2-car for Team Penske. No surprises here. I expect that Austin will be back in the 2-car in 2023 for many reasons. One, I think Austin in 2022, he's going to have a big rookie year in the NASCAR Cup Series. But also, of course, he's son of Tim Cindric, who is a competition director and president of Team Penske and their IndyCar side of things. And Austin, of course, is the 2020 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. So I think Austin is going to have a big year in the Cup Series. He'll be back in the 2-car in 2023. Up next, we're going to talk about the 3-car for Richard Childress Racing. This should not surprise anybody. Austin Dillon will be back in the 3-car in 2023. The reason is he is the grandson of Richard Childress. But Austin Dillon is a pretty decent driver, and I think that he will have a pretty good year in the Cup Series in 2022. I think will be really good with the next-gen car. And I think Austin Dillon in 2023, I think he's going to have a big year, and I think he will have a pretty successful year in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2023. Up next, we're going to talk about the 4-car for Stewart-Haas Racing. This should not surprise anybody. Kevin Harvick will be back in the 4-car in 2023. However, I believe this will be Kevin Harvick's final year in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2023. The reason is Kevin Harvick is going to be the full-time Cup Series driver this season, and Kevin Harvick by the end of 2023 is going to be 48. Plus, Kevin Harvick had discussed about potentially retiring in 2021. So that's a big reason why I think Kevin Harvick's going to retire. And I do think he wants to jump up to the booth and start doing commentary, and also wants to run his management company. And of course, his son Keelan is a lot older. So that's another reason why I think Kevin Harvick's going to retire after 2023. Who his replacement will be is unknown, but I think that Kevin Harvick will retire from the Cup Series in 2023. Up next, we're going to talk about the 5-car for Hendrick Motorsports. No surprise here, Kyle Larson will be back in the 5-car in 2023, as he currently has a contract right now through 2023. However, I do believe that Kyle Larson is going to get a long-term extension with Hendrick Motorsports, considering he was 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, and in 2022, I think he's going to have a massive and a major, major year. Plus, Kyle Larson is one of all-around the best drivers in NASCAR at the moment. I think he is the best driver in NASCAR currently at the moment. And I think the Hendrick Motorsports wants to keep him. Plus, there's been talk maybe he could run the Indy 500 with support from Hendrick in the future. So I think that Kyle Larson will be back in the 5-car in 2023, which shouldn't surprise nobody. Up next, we're talking about the 6 for RFK Racing. This should surprise nobody as well. I expect Brad Keselowski back in the 6-car in 2023. As Brad Keselowski, of course, is a team owner of the organization who have more of a majority stake in the organization to start growing his ownership stake by 2023. And I also think that Brad Keselowski is a really good driver who can get the best out of his equipment, and I think will help Roush over the years become a powerhouse once again. They started off the year really, really good with the dual wins, and I expect that Brad Keselowski will do good, and I think will improve in 2023 as well. But I think he will consider potentially retiring after 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 7-car for Spire Motorsports. Corey LaJoie, I think, will be back in the 7-car in 2023. Now, Corey LaJoie, I believe, only has a contract right now through 2022. But I think that they are going to want to keep Corey LaJoie in this program. Corey LaJoie, I think, is one of the most underrated drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series currently at the moment. And I think Spire Motorsports would be foolish to get rid of Corey LaJoie. So I think in 2023, I believe that we're going to see Corey LaJoie in the NASCAR Cup Series in the 7-car once again. Up next, we're talking about the A car for Richard Childress Racing. No surprise here. I think that Tyler Reddick will be back in the A car in 2023. Now, Tyler Reddick, I believe, has a contract right now that only goes through 2022, and he could be a free agent at the end of 2023. However, I do believe that Tyler Reddick will be back at Richard Childress Racing, as he's been the person that really has helped Richard Childress Racing become a much better organization. So I think that Tyler will be back with the team, and I think he'll be a contender for the playoffs and contender to win races in 2022 and 2023 as well with Richard Childress Racing. I think he's back in the 8 car. Up next, we're talking about the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports. And this, of course, will be driven by Chase Elliott. Now, Chase Elliott right now only has a contract with Hendrick Motorsports through 2022. However, there was talk this week and basically during the media center that Rick Hendrick said that they currently are working on major contract extensions, and those contract extensions are going to be announced very, very soon for Chase Elliott. So I expect that he will get a major extension. I think he'll be with the team at least for the next 6 years. But Rick Hendrick really wants to keep Chase Elliott for the rest of his career. So Chase Elliott will be back in the 9 car in 2023, in my opinion. Up next, we're going to talk about the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. There is going to be a major shakeup in the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing in 2023, as of course Eric Almirola is going to be retiring from racing in the Cup Series in 2022. And I think the driver that's going to replace him in 2023, I believe, is going to be, hear this out, Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece is SHR's reserve driver, and he's been driving for all the SHR teams. He's driven for Bricker Racing once. He's driven, of course, I believe we're going to be driving for SS Greenlight Racing or BG Motorsports at some point. And he also is going to be driving in the Cup Series he's also driving Truck Series for DJR Racing, who has a satellite operation with their team, Stewart-Haas Racing. So I think that Ryan Preece will be full-time in the 10 car, and I think he's a great driver, and I think he will do well in the 2023 season, and he deserves it. Up next, we're talking about the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. No shock to hear, Denny Hamlin will be back in the 11 car in 2023. Denny Hamlin has a multi-year contract with this organization, and Denny Hamlin still is at the top of his game. Now, I think that Denny Hamlin potentially could start looking at considering retiring, but I think he's still got a few more years left of him in the NASCAR Cup Series. So I think that Denny Hamlin will be back in the team in 2023, and I think he will do a good point at 2023 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 12 car for Team Penske. No surprise here, Ryan Blaney will be back at the Cup Series with this team in 2023. Now, Ryan Blaney's contract, I believe, only goes through 2023. So he's going to have to working on an extension for the future of this team and remaining with the team. But I think that Team Penske is going to want to keep Ryan Blaney since he's been a part of their organization for many, many years. I think that Ryan Blaney has no issue leaving the team, and I think that Ryan Blaney will continue driving for this team in 2023. Up next, we're going to talk about the 13 car for NBM Motorsports. Now, NBM Motorsports, I believe, is going to expand to a 2-car operation in 2023, but this 13 car is going to be a part-time car. And I think there are going to be 2 drivers that are going to drive this car. First one is Chad Fincham, who's a spotter for the organization, also a driver for the organization, and JJ Yeley, who's driving for NBM Motorsports pretty much the whole entire season in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. JJ Yeley has done a good job being a craft for the team, and also, of course, Chad Fincham as a driver has had a pretty decent career as well, who's driven for NBM Motorsports pretty much throughout his entire career. So I expect that these will be the 2 drivers that drive this 13 car in 2023. Up next, we're going to talk about the 14 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. No surprise here. I think Chase Briscoe will be back in the 14 car in 2023. Chase Briscoe is a driver that I think is very, very talented. I know that his rookie year in 2021 really did not go well. But I do think that Chase Briscoe really is going to improve in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2022. And, of course, Tony Stewart really wanted him, and Ford really wants to keep him in their program. So they're going to want to keep Chase Briscoe at Stewart-Haas Racing. I think Chase Briscoe is going to have a big year in 2022, and I think we'll see him back with Stewart-Haas Racing in 2023 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 15 car for Rick Rowe Racing. Rick Rowe Racing is going to remain a 2-car operation, I believe, in 2023, and they're going to do something very similar that they're doing in 2022. I expect the 15 car is going to be a rotation car, and there are going to be multiple drivers that are driving for this organization. First one, of course, is David Reagan, who's driving part-time for the team this season. Another one is Joey Hand, who's their road course ace. And I think also that James Davison is going to drive this car on a part-time basis as well. I think you're going to get the best drivers that are available to drive for this car that will get in it. And I think that those will be the drivers to drive for this 15 car in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 16 car for Colleague Racing. Now, 2022, the 16 car is going to be an all-star car. However, I think in 2023, this car is going to be a full-time car because I think Colleague is going to expand to 3 cars in the Cup Series in 2023. And I think the driver of this car is going to be the driver of the number 11 in the Xfinity Series and driver of 8 races in the Cup Series for Colleague Racing, Daniel Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick does have funding behind him, and Daniel Hemrick, of course, a 2021 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. He's got a good shot to defend this year in 2022, and I think that Daniel Hemrick will be in the Cup Series again on a full-time basis in 2023, to be honest with you. Up next, we're talking about the 17 car for RFK Racing. No surprise here. I expect that Chris Buescher will be back in the 17 car for RFK Racing in 2023. Chris Buescher, I expect to have a multi-year contract with the team. I think his contract right now goes through 2024 or 2025. Now, we're waiting to see him really gel and really show what he's capable of. But I think Chris Buescher is going to be able to be capable of that starting in 2022, especially with Brad coming on the team. And I do think that Chris Buescher will be back with the team in 2023 on a full-time basis, and I think he'll do good in 2023 and 2022 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. No surprise here, Kyle Busch will be back in the 18 car in 2023, since his contract, I believe, goes through 2023. But the biggest thing that's going to be changing for Kyle Busch is he's going to have a new sponsor in 2023. He'll be changing sponsors since M&M's is going to be leaving the team at the conclusion of the 2022 season. And I think that I'm looking at Menards potentially to be the replacement. Kyle Busch is a really good driver and knows how to get it done. So I think Kyle Busch will still have it together. He's going to be kind of closing on the end of his career, but I think we're going to see a Kyle Busch we haven't seen in a couple years over the next couple of years. And I think we'll see Kyle Busch back in his 18 car once again in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. There are going to be some changes here in 2023 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, if I was smart in decision, I would keep Martin Truex Jr.'s car in 2023, right? However, I think Martin Truex Jr. is going to retire from full-time competition in the Cup Series in 2022. And I think that the young hotshot who's driving the 54 full-time in the NASCAR Cup Xfinity Series, Ty Gibbs, is going full-time in Cup in 2023. I think Ty Gibbs is going to jump up. Now, I think it would be not the smartest thing to jump him up the Cup in 2023, but I think that he will be full-time in the Cup Series in 2023. I think he's a very talented driver who's going to dominate the series, but I think 2 more years in Xfinity would do well for him. But I think Joe Gibbs Racing is going to jump him up early, and I think he'll jump up to the Cup Series in 2023, in my opinion. Up next, we're talking about the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. No surprise here. I think Chris will be back in the 20 car once again in 2023. Now, his contract is unknown. I think he has a contract. I think his contract year for him this year, but he's a Toyota driver. He's been in Toyota's program for many years. They're not going to want to get rid of Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell is a very talented and really gifted driver, and I think that Christopher Bell in 2022 will have a good year, and I think that Christopher Bell will do great with things with the team. I expect that we're going to see Christopher Bell back in the 20 car once again in 2023, to be honest with you. Up next, we're talking about the 21 car for Wood Brothers. I don't expect any changes here. I think Harrison Burton will be back in the 21 car in 2023. Harrison Burton was originally going to be a driver for Team Penske in the Xfinity Series in 2022, but now he's in the Cup Series with this team in 2022. Now, I think that Harrison Burton in 2023 could absolutely improve with the Wood Brothers organization. I think he's going to. I think he's just surprised a lot of people in 2022, and I think that really could gel with him going into 2023. But overall, I expect that we're going to see Harrison Burton back in this car in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 22 car for Team Penske. No surprise here, Joey Logano will be back in this car in 2023. But next year is technically going to be a contract year for Joey Logano. However, I do think that Joey Logano at some point this year or next year, he is going to get a long-term extension since he has been a driver, has been the team for many years, and has won a championship, and Roger Penske is probably going to want to keep him. Now, Joey Logano will be, I believe, 31 or 32 years old by the end of 2022. But I believe that Joey Logano will be back with the team in 2023, excuse me. But I think he's going to get an extension, and I think he'll be the team for many years, to be honest with you. Up next, we're talking about the 23 car for 2311 Racing. I expect no changes here. I think Bubba Wallace will be back in the 23 car in 2023. Bubba Wallace is a flagship driver of this organization. He may not be the best performing driver in this organization this season, but I expect that Bubba Wallace, of course, he's a flagship driver of the organization, and they're not going to want to get rid of Bubba Wallace. And the team really is, of course, around Bubba Wallace. They really formed his team, and Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin have not formed a Cup Series team this year if it had not been for, you guessed it, Bubba Wallace. I think that Bubba Wallace is someone that I think is going to improve over the next couple of years and do very well. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people in this next gen era, and we'll see him back in the 23 in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports. I expect no change here. I think William Byron will be back in this car in 2023. Now, William Byron's contract right now only goes through 2022, I believe. However, they, like Chase Elliott, they're working on some big long-term extensions for him as well. And I think that William Byron, especially how good he is and how much he's gotten better each and every year, I think he could have a big year in 2022. And I think that they're going to keep him in this team in 2023. Keep him. They want to keep him throughout his whole entire career. And I think we're about to see a William Byron flourish. And I think he could be an underdog to win the championship in 2022. And we'll see him, I think, in 2023 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 25 per Petty GMS Racing. That's right. I believe that Petty GMS Racing is going to expand to a third car. However, this car is only going to be a part-time car. Now, I was thinking about what drivers could eventually get into this car. Of course, you have Jack Wood, who is in the organization on a full-time basis. But I think if the part-time car is going to be driven by the driver of the 23 in GMS and the Truck Series, Grant Enfinger, on a part-time basis. Grant Enfinger is a very good driver. I don't think he's had a Cup Series start at this point yet. He's had a couple of Xfinity Series starts that have not gone really, really well. But I think that Grant Enfinger is going to be part-time with this team. I think they're going to expand, and they're going to get the 25 number taken away from Hendrick Motorsports. And I believe that we're going to see them in the Cup Series with a third car, and I think that we will see him in this car in 2023 on a part-time basis. Up next, we're talking about the 27 car for Team Haysbers. Team Haysbers, I believe in 2023, they're going to go and become a full-time team. It's unclear if they're going to be a charter team or not, but I think that they'll be a full-time team in 2023, and I think that they're going to go with the same lineup in 2023. I think they're going to have Larice Hasemans drive a majority of the races, the road courses, and the short tracks, and I think that Jacques Villeneuve is going to be back with the team in 2023. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, made the Daytona 500 this year. We'll have to wait and see how he did in that. But I think that Jacques Villeneuve, of course, being the first former champion to make the Daytona 500, I think that he will do very, very good as well with this team in 2022. And maybe we'll see Team Haysbers surprise and do on road course and short tracks. But we will see Team Haysbers, I think, full-time in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 29 car for RFK Racing. Now, this is going to shock a lot of people, but I believe that RFK Racing is also going to expand to a third three-car operation in 2023. But this third car is going to be on a part-time basis. Now, I was thinking about what drivers maybe could get into this car. You've got drivers in the Ford development program that maybe like a Haley Deegan or something, but she would be too rushed up very, very quickly. So I think there's one candidate who has funding, because I think that if they're going to run this car, it will have to be someone with funding. But there is someone in the NASCAR Xfinity Series that does have quite a bit of funding. We're talking about Riley Herbst. I think Riley Herbst is going to drive part-time for RFK Racing in the Cup Series for a few select races this year. I think he's going to have enough funding to run part-time. I can see him running with other teams throughout the year as well. But I do believe that Riley Herbst will drive part-time for RFK because he has the money to do it. So I think he will be the driver on this part-time venture in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 31 car for Kaulig Racing. No surprise here, Justin Haley will be back in the 31 car in 2023. Justin Haley is a driver that I think is going to surprise a lot of people in the Cup Series over this year. Of course, a driver who's won one Cup Series race back in 2019 with Spire Motorsports, and also a really good super speedway racer. And I think that's really going to come into play for Kaulig Racing, considering that team in Xfinity especially has done really, really good on the super speedways. And I think Justin Haley is going to surprise a lot of people over these years, especially in the Cup Series. And I think we will see him back with this team in 2023 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 32 car for 2311 Racing. That's right. I think the 2311 Racing is going to expand to a three-car operation that season. And I think they are going to bring someone up that is from the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series that drives for Kyle Busch Motorsports. I'm talking about John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter Nemechek, of course, is returning to the NASCAR Truck Series here, driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Had a pretty decent run in the Truck Series race at Daytona. But John Hunter has been wanting to get back to the Cup Series at some point. And I think that this is his best opportunity since he decided to go up to Joe Gibbs Racing. And I think that, of course, for 2311, they want to expand to a three-car operation at some point. I think that John Hunter would be definitely the perfect choice if they're going to expand. I think John Hunter would be absolutely be the perfect choice to go. So I think they will expand in 2023, and I think they will go with John Hunter Nemechek. Up next, we're going to talk about the 33 car for Richard Childress Racing. I think Rich Choice Racing is also going to expand in 2022 3 to 3 car operation. However, this car, like a lot of these other cars that I'm mentioning, this will be a part-time car. And I think the two drivers that currently drive for their Xfinity Series program, that being Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed, I think are going to be the drivers in this part-time entry. I think it will only be a car that shows up on the super speedway tracks, trying to get more entries and more people that show up throughout the season. So I think the 33 car is going to show up on a part-time basis, and I think it will be driven by Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed. I expect those to be the two drivers in 2023, to be perfectly honest with you. Up next, we're talking about the 34 car for Front Row Motorsports. This should surprise nobody. Michael McDowell back in the 34 car in 2023. But I think that this potentially could be Michael McDowell's final season. Michael McDowell, I believe, will either be 39 or 40 by the end of 2023. And Michael McDowell is a driver that has done a lot. And over the years, he has gotten progressively better, including, like I mentioned, he won the Daytona 500 in 2021. But I think Michael McDowell's achieved a lot throughout his entire career. And I think he's sitting there in replacement of the guy we're talking about here in a little bit. But I think that Michael McDowell will be back to the team in 2023, and I think he'll do great stuff with the team, as I think he's going to really gel with this next-gen car. We're going to see Michael McDowell back in the 34 car in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 36 car for Front Row Motorsports. Yes, I think Front Row is also going to have a third car. However, this car is only going to show up on a part-time basis, really on the super speedway tracks. And I think it's going to be driven by their Truck Series driver, Zane Smith. Zane Smith, of course, is driving full-time for them this year. He picked up his first win with this team back in Daytona here a couple days ago. And I expect that he is going to do really, really great things with this organization, the Truck Series. And I think in the future, he is going to be Michael McDowell's replacement in the NASCAR Cup Series. I think that he's a really, really talented driver who's got plenty of time. Plus, he's only going to be 23 or 24, by that point. But I think Zane Smith will be part-time in the Cup Series in 2023, and I think he'll do great things for these teams in the future. Up next, we're talking about the 37 car for JTG Doherty Racing. I think JTG Doherty Racing is also going to expand. However, it's going to be a part-time basis. I think that they actually are also going to partner up with some of these teams that are partnering up with this organization. I think they're going to partner up with Richard Childress Racing. And I think that their part-time organization is going to have Austin Hill in the organization for the lion's share of the races. Austin Hill, of course, will be driving full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year in the 21 car. And, of course, he picked up his first career Xfinity Series win. Congratulations to him on that. I think Austin Hill is going to do great things in Xfinity, and I think they'll partner up with RCR. And I believe that JTG is going to get Austin Hill to drive this car in 2023 on a part-time basis. Up next, we're talking about the 38 car for Front Row Motorsports. No surprise here, Todd Gilliland back in the 38 car in 2023. And the reason is because of the fact he has a multi-year contract with the team, and plus he is son of David Gilliland. And of course, the Front Row trucks utilize the DGR stuff, and David Gilliland has a really long-lasting relationship with the Front Row camp. Todd Gilliland is a very, very talented driver. I think by 2023, in his sophomore year, I think he is going to genuinely and really, really improve in 2023 by that point. We're going to see him back with the team, I think, in 2023, and I think he'll do great things in the Cup Series in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 41 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. No surprise here, Cole Custer will be back in the 41 car in 2023. Reason is, of course, is because he is the son of Joe Custer, who is the president currently at the moment of Stewart-Haas Racing. And I think Cole Custer is a driver that will improve in 2022. This is really, for me, 2022 is year he really needs to step it up. But Cole Custer is not going anywhere just because of the fact that he is the son of Joe Custer. So we're going to see him back with the team. He's got sponsors that are committed to him. And we're going to see Cole Custer back in the 41 car in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 42 car for Petty GMS Motorsports. No shocker here, Ty Dillon back in the 42 car in 2023. Now, Ty Dillon has made a lot of enemies already in 2022, but I believe that Ty Dillon will get back in this car in 2023 just because Ty Dillon has the funding to really help him out and the funding that's coming. Plus, they have the Petty GMS group has a relationship with the RCR camp, so he's going to be with the team regardless throughout time. So we're going to see Ty Dillon back in the 42 car in 2023, and maybe we'll see him improve by that point. Up next, we're talking about the 43 car for Petty GMS Motorsports. No shocker here. I expect Eric Jones to be back in his car in 2023. Now, Eric Jones' contract does end in 2022. However, I do believe in 2022. However, I believe in 2022, he's actually going to do pretty well in the Cup Series here. And I think he's going to really, really gel with these cars. And Erik Jones, I think, is going to want to come back to the team in 2023, especially since he's got Dave Ellens, who is a championship caliber crew chief who's going to be on the box. Overall, I think Erik Jones will be in this car once again in 2023, and I think he's going to excel and do great things with the team in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 44 car for NY Racing. NY Racing, of course, is returning to the Cup Series in 2022, and I think that NY Racing, because they're going to try to run a majority of races in 2022, I believe in 2023, they're going to go full-time, and they're going to have 2 drivers in their organization. First one I've got is Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle, of course, drive NY Racing in the Daytona 500. Of course, going to drive for a lot this year for the organization and wants to return to the Cup Series and other select races. I think Greg Biffle will be one of the drivers. He's a driver I'm really happy to see back. He's making his first race since 2016. And the other driver, I think, and it's going to shock a lot of people, but I think that Matt DiBenedetto, I think, will go part-time with this team in 2023. Now, he's going to need the funding, of course, but he does have help from Brackley, and I think Brackley has some sort of GMS support. And, of course, the 44 team has Hendrick support, and GMS has Hendrick support. So I would think that Matty D could be a candidate to go part-time with NY Racing, but it won't be competitive. But I think that we'll see Matty D and Gray Biffle be the drivers of the 44 car in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 45 car for 2311 Racing. This should not shock anybody. I expect Kurt Busch to be back in this car in 2023, as he does have a multi-year contract with this organization. Kurt Busch, in my opinion, is a driver that is very, very underrated. And I think that he will be someone that is going to do a really good job with 2311 Racing. And I think that he'll be with this team for one more year, because I think that this will be his last season in the Cup Series. I think Kurt Busch is going to retire at the conclusion of the 2023 season. I could be proven wrong, but I think that Kurt Busch will, unfortunately, go ahead and retire after 2023 and look at going up to the Fox Sports booth or another commentary booth in the future. Since I think he does a good job on TV, Kurt Busch, I think, will do well, but I think that next year will be his last year in the Cup Series. Up next, we're talking about the 47 car for JTG Doherty Racing. No surprise here. I expect that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will be back in the 47 car in 2023. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., of course, has a contract right now through 2022, but Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I think, has done pretty well with JTG Doherty Racing over the last couple of seasons. And I think that he will do, once again, really well in 2023 with this organization. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I like him a lot. I've liked him more over the years. I didn't think he was that really great with RFK Racing, but since he's gone to JTG Doherty Racing, he has really not done absolutely horrendous. So I think that he'll be back in the 47 car in 2023, and I think he'll do great things with the team in 2023 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This should not shock anybody. Alex will be back in the 48 car in 2023, since he does have a contract right now that does go through 2023. And really the big determination of Alex Willman is going to get a contract past 2023 and longer is if how long Ally wants to be committed. If Ally wants to extend her relationship with Hendrick Motorsports, they'll extend it with them. But if they don't decide to extend, then maybe they'll leave the team, and this could hurt Alex Bowman. But we'll see Alex Bowman in the 48 car in 2023, and I think he'll do good things with Hendrick Motorsports in 2023 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 50 car for the Money Team Racing. I believe the Money Team Racing, they're going to be part-time this year, and their next race is going to be COTA. But I believe that the Money Team is going to be a full-time organization in 2023. I think they're going to aim to go full-time in 2023. And I believe that Kaz Gralla will be full-time once again with this team in 2023, since they're going to be using Kaz Gralla for pretty much every single race that they're going to be entering in this season. So I think that they're going to be show up full-time in 2023, and I think that we'll see Kaz Gralla drive for this team in 2023 as well. Up next, we're talking about the 51 car for Ricker Racing. This should not come as a shock. I expect Cody Ware to be back in the 51 car in 2023. Cody Ware, of course, is the son of Rick Ware, but he also drives full-time in the Cup Series with this team in 2022 with SHR and Ford Development. Because remember, SHR has a really big relationship with Rick Ware Racing. And I think that they're going to want to keep Cody Ware for a long time, considering, of course, like I mentioned, he is the son of Rick Ware. So I believe that we're going to see this team once again boost Cody Ware to go full-time. He's got that NERTEC sponsorship, which really is going to help him. And I believe that we'll continue seeing Cody Ware driving the 51 car in 2023 on a full-time basis as well. Up next, we're talking about the 55 car for Live Fast Motorsports. I think Live Fast Motorsports is going to have 2 cars. I think that this car will only show up for a few races. And I think it'll be driven by Josh Williams and Matt Mills, who drive for BJ McLeod Motorsports in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And Matt Mills, not to mention, has made a start in the Cup Series for, I don't remember if it was BJ McLeod Motorsports or Live Fast Motorsports, but I think but we're going to see Matt Mills get in this car for part-time. And I think Josh Williams, someone has said maybe he was going to drive part-time for them in the NASCAR Cup Series this year. I'm not sure how true that is or not. But I think that 55 will be a second Live Fast Motorsports car, and those will be the two drivers that get in the car. Up next, we're talking about the 61 car for Kaulig Racing. This car is going to be the all-star car, and there's going to be 10, maybe 2 or 3 drivers that get in this car. First one, AJ Allmendinger. AJ Allmendinger, of course, drives full-time in the Xfinity Series for Kaulig Racing and also making quite a few starts in the Cup Series. I think he's making 15 or 16 starts in the Cup Series in 2022. He will get the lion's share in this car, and I think he'll be the first driver. Second driver is going to be Landon Castle. Now, Landon Castle, of course, is driving part-time for Spire Motorsports in the Cup Series here, but I think that they're going to want to have him run some Cup Series races, so he's going to be the second driver. The final driver I think that's going to be in that car, I think is either going to be My Sider or Josh Berry. Both drivers are part, I think My Sider is part of the RC development, so I'm really leaning toward My Sider being the other driver. He does not have a Cup Series start at the moment, so I think the 3 drivers will drive for the Kaulig group are AJ Allmendinger, Landon Castle, and I also think My Sider will be the final driver. Up next, we're talking about the 62 car for Beard Motorsports. Beard Motorsports, I think, will show up once again in 2023. And I think they'll run more than the Super Speedways. I think they're going to run more races. And I think that the driver that they're going to choose is going to shock a lot of people. But I think that Michael Annett, yes, heard that right. I think Michael Annett is going to come out of retirement, and I think he's going to drive part-time in the Cup Series with Beard Motorsports. Michael Annett, of course, has retired from full-time competition, but Michael Annett says he wants to potentially run a few select races in the NASCAR Xfinity Series or NASCAR in some sort of capacity. So I think that we are going to see the 62 Beard Motorsports show up on a part-time basis, and I think that they're going to choose Michael Annett to get into this ride. Up next, we're talking about the 66 car for NBM Motorsports. No surprise here. I expect that Timmy Hill will be in the 66 car for a majority of races. And I also do think that Boris Said is going to run part-time once again in 2023 as well. Both drivers, of course, drive for the team in 2022. And Boris Said running the road courses and Timmy Hill running the lion's share. I think that's how it will work in 2023. I could be wrong, but I think that those will be the drivers that will get into the 66 car for NBM Motorsports in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 77 car for Spire Motorsports. Now, they have currently one car that's going to have 2 entries, and of course, this year, 2022, they've got one car with 2 drivers and one car with 1 driver. That's going to change. I think both cars are going to be full-time in 2023, and I think that the driver who's driving for the most races in the Cup Series, the team for 25 races, that being Josh Bilicki. Yes, you're right. I think Josh Bilicki is going to drive this car on a full-time basis. Josh Bilicki does have the funding and the sponsorship to get into the ride, and I think that he will be the driver they are going to choose for the 2023 season. I think he's a driver, and we'll see him, I believe, in a 77 car in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 78 car for Live Fast Motorsports. No surprise here. I expect BJ McLeod to pretty much do the same thing he's done the last couple of years. I think he'll run most of the races in 2023 with a few exceptions. I think that he's going to have a guy like Shane Galloway come back and run part-time for him. I can see Chris Wyndham maybe getting some select starts with the team in 2023, depending on if he doesn't go like Rick Racing and drive for one of their cars once again. I think that he'll run a majority of races, BJ McLeod, but I think that we'll see some other drivers get into this car in 2023. Up next, we're talking about the 83 car for Junior Motorsports. Yes, you heard that right. I think Junior Motorsports is actually going to jump up to the Cup Series in 2023 with 2 cars. Now, there will be 1 full-time entry and 1 part-time entry. Let's first talk about the 83 with the full-time entry. This should not surprise anybody. I expect that Noah Gragson, who has the funding and the sponsors, I think that he will get into the 83 car on a full-time basis with Junior Motorsports. Noah Gragson has been with Junior Motorsports for the last technically 3 or 4 years, and I think that they're going to want to jump up the Cup Series. They've talked about wanting to jump up by 2023, and I think the driver that they will choose to get into this car, I believe, is going to be Noah Gragson. Up next, we're talking about the 88 car for Junior Motorsports. This is going to be the part-time entry, and this is going to be a rotation of the drivers that are currently in the NASCAR Xfinity Series that won't be full-time. That is, of course, Josh Berry, who I think will do most of the races in this car. Josh Berry has a long-term commitment with Junior Motorsports, and I think he'll be with this car once again. Next, Sam Mayer. Now, Sam Mayer, I think, is going to be very controversial considering he has not done really good in the first years in the Xfinity Series, but I think they're going to want to give Sam Mayer some cut starts for whatever reason because he has the funding. Finally, Justin Allgaier. Justin Allgaier, I think, would be the guy that they probably should go for if they're going to do rotation, but I think Justin Allgaier will be the other driver. So this car will have 3 drivers in 2023, and that will be the rotation. Up next, we're talking about the 96 car for Gaunt Brothers Racing. Now, this car will run full-time, I believe, in 2023, and they're going to have a rotation of drivers. First driver who run the most races, I believe, is going to be Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones, I think, is going to potentially make cut starts in 2022, but I believe that Brandon Jones will run a majority of the races. The next driver I think that will drive for this car is Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith is going to, of course, be driving full-time for KBM in 2022. And I think that we'll see Chandler Smith go. But I think Chandler Smith potentially jump up the Xfinity Series in 2023 with that ride potentially opening up. I think that Chandler Smith could potentially be one of the other drivers. And the final driver that I think will get into 96, this one's going to shock a lot of people. But I think that Martin Truex Jr., yes, heard that right. I think Martin Truex Jr. is going to run 1 or 2 races in the Cup Series in 2023, and I think that he will get into the 96 car in 2023 on a part-time basis. That is who I think will drive the 96 car in 2023. And finally, in the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing, there's going to be no changes here. Daniel Suarez will be in this 99 car in 2023. Daniel Suarez is the flagship driver of this organization, and Trackhouse was made around of course, Daniel Suarez. So I think that Daniel Suarez is going to get into this car once again in 2023. I think Daniel Suarez is a very well-talented driver who's going to improve in 2022. And I think that in 2023, we're going to see some major improvements from Daniel Suarez. And I think that Daniel Suarez will continue driving this car in 2023 as well. So anyway, that is the lineup that I think that will show up in 2023. So anyway, that's going to be it for today's NASCAR special video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's get you blow over that and comment your thoughts on today's driver lineup video. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think my lineup is a little bit overboard, a little crazy, or do you think that there will be some drivers that are going to show up that have not shown up at this point on that list? Let me know in the comments below. First of all, this was, again, my 1,000 subscriber special. So, again, I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me. We've got a lot coming up. But, again, thank you so much for the support over the years. I really do appreciate it. So, anyway, guys, I'll see you guys next time for great, awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.